One vision has been presented and championed by Republicans in the House of Representatives and embraced by several of their party's presidential candidates. But the way this plan achieves those goals would lead to a fundamentally different America than the one we've known, certainly in my lifetime. In fact, I think it would be fundamentally different than what we've known throughout our history. A 70% cut in clean energy, a 25% cut in education, a 30% cut in transportation, cuts in college Pell Grants that will grow to more than $1,000 per year. That's the proposal. These aren't the kinds of cuts you make when you're trying to get rid of some waste or find extra savings in the budget. These are the kinds of cuts that tell us we can't afford the America that I believe in and I think you believe in. I believe it paints a vision of our future that is deeply pessimistic.
These are not the kind of cuts you make when you're trying to get rid of some waste or find extra savings in the budget, he said. So why would you find them then? Implying that these are the kind of things you do when you are trying to fundamentally change the country. In other words, it's not about the budget. The president also today called out the Republicans' plan for claiming to reduce the deficit while also giving away another $1 trillion tax cut to rich people, which means that the president committed math live on television. Very dangerous. The president's brushback and criticism of the Republicans today was, I think, stronger than most people expected. Does that buy him from his own party, from his own supporters, more faith in his assurances that he will defend and protect Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, even as he said today that they need reform? Joining us now is Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat of Ohio. It's great to have you back, Senator. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Rachel. Good to see you.
I saw yesterday Greg Sargent at the Washington Post published your letter to the president advocating on Medicare, asking him to protect America's seniors and oppose any attempts to dismantle Medicare. Did what the president say today make the kind of commitment that you were looking to hear?
Yeah, exactly. Within 24 hours, more than 20 senators joined me in that letter. I announced it yesterday at caucus, at the Democratic caucus, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or so, and already about a couple of dozen senators have signed on because it's fundamental in our party that we believe that Medicare should be a public program, not a voucher program. That we've seen this game before, where Republicans do huge tax cuts for upper income people and pay for those tax cuts by cutting Medicare. It's what Newt Gingrich tried to do in 1995 when he said Medicare should wither on the vine. And you can go back 30 years before that, when Republicans and conservatives overwhelmingly opposed the creation of Medicare because they didn't want a big government program. But Medicare has brought up the poverty rate in our country among seniors is very low. 99% of seniors have insurance now. When Medicare was founded in 1965, only half of seniors had any kind of close to comprehensive health insurance. So it's been a terrific success, and this crowd and the right wing in this country again wants to dismantle Medicare. They try every decade or so. We've got to beat it back, and the president said exactly the right thing today.
There was one portion of the speech toward the end that I wrote when I knew I was going to be able to talk to you tonight. I wrote in the margin of the speech as I was reading along with him, "Wiggle room? Ask Senator Brown." The president said, "There are those who believe we shouldn't make any reforms to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security out of a fear that any talk of change to these programs will usher in the sort of radical steps that House Republicans have proposed." The president then said he understood those fears, but there do have to be some changes to those programs. When he talks about the need for them to be changes to those programs, is that wiggle room there that you worry about?
No, I don't. And I'll give you an example of what he wants to change that I think makes perfect sense. There's there's a new kind of pharmaceutical in this country called biologics, relatively new. They're pretty expensive. They save lives. They often, or because they're so expensive, they often do not have a generic substitute, so that there's no competition in selling of these drugs. The president has fought hard, as he tried during the health care debate, and I worked with him on that, and we're going to renew that fight to bring generic competition and with these biologics and pharmaceuticals, so they're more broadly on the market. It'll mean huge savings for taxpayers. It'll mean huge savings for seniors. It'll mean strengthening the Medicare program because you can get the same kind of help from pharmaceuticals and the same kind of medicine without paying such a huge price for it. That's just one example.
Let me ask you a specific Senate question about how some of those specific types of policies are going to be worked out. Why does the Senate keep separating off into these gangs, these bipartisan, even split non-committees like this Gang of Six that's supposed to be doing work on deficit reduction proposals right now? I mean, Democrats control the Senate. Why do work like this in a 50-50 split with Republicans instead of just doing it through the normal Senate processes?
I think it's kind of become a Senate tradition that groups of people work on things, and that's fine in an informal way. But ultimately, we need to work together as Democrats. Certainly we work bipartisanly, but on sound principles like Medicare and Social Security and Pell Grants, as the president pledged to defend, on issues like that are really on protecting Planned Parenthood, on what conservatives tried to do last week to defund a group, if you will, that provides primary care to 3 million women in this country. We stand on principle there. We fight together on those things. Some of these preliminary working out of issues is fine, but in the end, the president needs to stand strong, as he's doing, starting today, I think, on these fundamental democratic principles, that there's huge consensus in this country about they're the mainstream values of the Democratic Party, but they're also the mainstream values of this country. Opportunity for kids in college, opportunity for kids with Head Start, Medicare, Social Security, safe drinking water, clean air, those kinds of things. Civil rights are what this country stands for and what those of us that are progressive Democrats are proudest of in our party.
Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, thanks very much for your time tonight.
As always,
So nice to see you.